Hello everyone, this afternoon on the marketplace, cement manufacturers warn government of job layoffs and product shortage if new legislative instrument targeting price control is passed.
Investment will be curtailed. Now, you should not forget, we have workers that have been employed. If a price is quoted for me to sell and it's not profitable,
Doc,
I know.
So coming up, COCOBOD secures $100 million funding support from the World Bank to rehabilitate cocoa farms.
Now we've come to 1:600 under this government, which is very good. That's why, the farmers are praising our extension officers because now extension has come very close to the farmers.
Are you doing this free of charge to the farmers to rehabilitate them?
Oh yes, yes, everything is free.
And also on show business, the focus will be on the critical issue of financing in the creative industry. My name is Darryl Carl. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Details coming up. Well, first up, cement manufacturers say they'll be forced to lay off some workers and cut down on the operations if the new legislative instrument seeking to control prices of their products is passed by Parliament. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Katie Amon, this week laid the ally in Parliament. Now, speaking on PM Express Business Edition, the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Cement Manufacturers, Dr. Dawson Amwa, warned that the ally could result in product shortages on the market.
If you force a producer to, sell at a price and it's not profitable, there's market distortion. He would not produce. And if he doesn't produce, there's shortage. Is Ghana ready for shortage?
That is something that is going to happen.
Yeah, something that's going to happen. And it's going to have investor deterrent that, cement factory is capital intensive. We work there. I have worked there for 28 years. Capital intensive. And always you need to resource capital. So it's like now if you're going to force me to sell at this price and it's not profitable, investment will be curtailed. Now, you should not forget, we have workers that have been employed. If a price is quoted for me to sell and it's not profitable,
Doc,
I know.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodu, says portions of the regulation have been amended. Key among them is jail terms proposed for directors of firms who fail to comply with the law.
At the launch of the committee, Honorable Katie Amon asked for voluntary disclosure. I wrote it in my book and showed it to the members. At our first meeting, second meeting, third meeting, then the Honorable Minister...
Prof, we understand all this.
Then the
now
Honorable
there's
Minister,
an ally. They are pleading to engage you. What will change? Can anything change?
I told them on Tuesday, and I'll repeat, every one of the concerns they raised to the original version of the ally has been cleared. So currently...
Then withdraw the ally.
No, so currently, the version of the ally you have just deals with the disclosure. Very many people either have chosen not to have seen the current version. So I asked a question. I challenge the industry to tell me any portion of the current version of the ally which only demands transparency to come out and say that this specific portion is inimical to the growth of industry or to the reputation of our country as an investment destination. It's such a mature ally that what they are doing is to make comments relating to the original version to the extent that the minister listened and substantially amended the original version at the pre-laying stage. And listening to the concerns and the furore means that the Honorable Katie Amon, in his own way, has listened to the views. And I can assure you, the minority who are on the subsidiary legislative group will tell you that it was a very heated meeting, but we arrived at the views.
Now, the World Bank is set to release some $100 million funds to the Ghana COCOBOD to support production. This is according to Chief Executive Officer of COCOBOD, Joseph Edu. According to him, the funds are meant to rehabilitate some overaged cocoa farms across the country to boost production. Speaking to Joy Business after he visited some farms in the northern part of the central region, Mr. Wine said an MOU has been signed between COCOBOD, the African Development Bank, and the World Bank to see to the disbursement of the funds soon.
Doing rehabilitation and then we leave it for the farmers alone. If you are generating only seedlings for farmers to come and then cut all these trees and plant on their own, they cannot. Even getting the planting materials, planting suckers alone. We went to Mr. Temaku's farm, 30 acres. If you cut 30 acres and you want the farmer to provide plantain suckers for 30 acres within 1 year, he cannot. That's how, per the new program under the new dispensation, as we provide planting material. Plantain suckers are free for the farmers, and then we also support them in terms of labor to do the planting. And our extension people, we've increased the extension staff number. It used to be just 400. They are now about 2,000. So instead of 1:3,000 farmers, now you have 1:600 farmers
across the country.
So what?
Across the country.
Across the country. We used to be 1:3,000. FAO is 1:500. That's the standard. Now we've come to 1:600 under this government, which is very good. That's why, the farmers are praising our extension officers, because now extension has come very close to the farmers.
Are you doing this free of charge to the farmers? You rehabilitate and
yes, everything is free. Everything is free.
Retired World Bank Country Director and founder of Albert's Haven Farms, Atto Brown, is advocating increased research and science-based support for the agri sector to enhance Ghana's economic growth. He also emphasizes the importance of introducing modern agriculture at the basic and senior high school levels to stimulate interest in the sector. He spoke with my colleague Denisia Puma Ejay in our upcoming interview on Food Chain.
I hope that we can introduce agriculture at this infancy, modern agriculture, to all high schools or primary schools in Ghana, so that people grow, and naturally progress into agriculture without going through the aspirations, confusion, what to do with a day job or a side gig and so
with
on.
Your experience,
but they can go into agriculture purposefully because they've been over the years been associated with agriculture even at school. Ghana is still an agriculture country basically, but low productivity agriculture country. So we need to raise our game. We need to raise our game, and I think there are snippets of little explosions of. You see in the middle belt, in Savannah Belt, people are doing large-scale farm plains, people are going in, livestock ranching is becoming part of the game. Before, only the Fulanis brought their cattle around, but now people are growing cows, So I think there's a movement, a positive movement in agriculture. I think a bit more resourcing will help, a bit more science-based research support. It's not all about money. It's the information, getting the right information to the farm gate will be very important. But at the end of the day, we need to increase our size of our farms. We need to get more productive, and we need to apply more science in agriculture.
All right, so be sure to catch this episode of Food Chain during the weekend, 6 p.m. on Saturday and 2:30 p.m. on Sunday. Don't miss it. Now, accounting and auditing firm KPMG has partnered with the Educational Directorate of the Greater Accra region to support infrastructure for some selected schools in the region. The move is part of its corporate social responsibility to impact the communities. Senior partner at KPMG, Anthony Sapon, has been speaking with Joy Business at a ceremony to hand over a new ICT lab to the Abilenkwe Basic School in Accra. Here's more.
The ICT Lab is an initiative adopted by auditing firm KPMG to empower young learners with digital skills and basic knowledge in technology. According to KPMG, this is a partnership geared towards improving learning and thereby supporting the students to contribute to economic growth. After a ceremony to hand over the facility to the school, senior partner at KPMG, Anthony Sapon, said This will give opportunity to the students to appreciate the computer skills in their studies.
When we go to a school, we partner with them over a number of years. So this is a journey started around 2019, investing in various infrastructure like the KG infrastructure, the washroom, and today we are handing over the ICT lab. The importance of it is that it gives opportunity for the learners to be able to begin to imbibe technology and digitization learning, which is part of the generation that they are born into. And that way, we give them the education and be able to build their skills in computer and technology so that when they finish their education, they can really contribute to our nation building in Ghana and the world at large.
Headmistress of the school, Enyonam Ajo Dovlote, expressed gratitude to the firm and used the occasion to appeal for more support to make the learning environment conducive for students.
These computers will go a long way to help our learners, to equip them, empower them for the future. As regarding digital, we being in a digital era, we are supposed to equip the Ghanaian child to be digital literate. So these computers will give them first-hand opportunity. And KPMG, we are very grateful, truly grateful, and we'll put these resources to very good use, but we still expect more because the school is still in dire need of a lot of resources.
The CSR project is part of key initiatives by the firm to improve upon its environmental and sustainable governance practices.
Now, former Finance Minister Setekwe has warned that the next government to assume office in 2025 will grapple with a significant debt burden. At a media briefing on Ghana's economic outlook, Mr. Setekwe highlighted that the nation's reserves and financial buffers, which are essential for economic stability, have been exhausted.
But we don't have features of this program, which we shall see, which is nothing more than, kicking the can, to future generations and to future governments. And therefore, we think that the enthusiasm should be tempered and also given the sacrifice, particularly of domestic, investors and the vanquishing of our capital market opportunities. It will take us some time, from even the scarce data that we have, to get to these points. The path to domestic and external financial markets remain blocked. And as we shall see, if all we are going to be achieving by 2028, 2029 is 68% approximately of debt, that means that unless we are able as a condition to, between 2026 and 2028 in particular, we are able to clear the humps that have been created, then I'm afraid the dependence on treasury bills and short-term notes would worsen the situation.
You're watching The Marketplace. Do stay with us. When we come back, we have show business. We'll be discussing finance in the creative industry. All right, so how about some show business for a Friday afternoon? Today we focus on the critical issue of finance in the creative industry. And despite the immense talent and potential within the African creative sector, financial hurdles often impede growth and sustainability. Well, on today's edition of the segment, we'll analyze the impact, analyze and discuss the impact of funding on entertainment projects. Joining us, culture journalist Kenneth Awatridako with more insights into this. So let's start first of all. Hope you're good. Let's start first of all with what it looks like right now when it comes to finance in the creative industry.
So if you look at Africa specifically, you understand how much of joy that these creators bring people. So it's very difficult, or it's very remote if you want to think about how they go about their finances, because usually on the aesthetic side of things, it looks all gloomy. But sometimes when it comes to the financial aspects is something that is not talked about that much, but it's a really big problem. I mean, we've had a lot of, creative giants complain in their own different ways. Recently, there was, this musician Sarkodie was on a cypher by Hennessy or something like that. So, and during his freestyle, he actually mentioned the fact that he wants to be financially independent. So for that reason, he hasn't signed onto any record label, which is seen in the industry as something or an institution that usually backs, artists amongst others. And so him making that statement also brought about that conversation as to the fact that do people really need to be under, management or individuals that or institutions that take care of their structures, which include the finances. I mean, there are other people who have also, when it comes to like the visual artists as well, there's also the need for, individual artists to be under these, entities. Some of them are doing it on their own and they are doing quite fine. But those who are under, labels or under management teams with financial backing are doing extremely well. And you can attest to the fact that money is very important in all these sectors. And so for Ghana, for instance, it is something that is, being looked at by, industry players as something that will help if he sees an improvement, basically.
Yeah. So tell me what the primary challenges are when it comes to financing.
So most of the time, as entrepreneurs, understand that these creatives are also entrepreneurs on their own. And in order to secure, some financing, loans are one thing that, are important to them. For instance, the fact that the interest rates in a lot of African countries are very high makes it very difficult for these, artists to be able to secure the kind of funding that they need to be able to, execute the jobs that they do. So talking about, high interest rates, you can also talk about the fact that when it comes to, collaterals to be able to secure some of these loans, that's also a big problem. And it is, really hurting these, artists for which reason. A lot of them are deciding to use their own individual means to come up with funds to fund their activities. And, without big budgets, it's going to be difficult for you to put out, artwork that meets international standards because, of course, money is very important. And so the fact that the interest rates are usually high and also the fact that the lack of collateral are also a very big impediment. Also, when it comes to the need to also understand the ecosystem that we are in as creatives, I mean, you need a very financially sound, for instance, management to be able to do that. A lot of them do not have, management that has the financial literacy skills to be able to appreciate what the ecosystem brings on board beyond just the art alone. But the financial part of it is also very lacking. So it's something that some, creatives and industry players are also looking at and are, hoping that the banks are able to come around and meet them halfway to be able to make that transaction happen.
All right. How are the banks or investors engaging the creative industry?
For one, the financial institutions and investors see the creative industry as a very high risk, endeavor. And for every institution, the primary motive is to make profits before, the solutions of whichever client it is comes in. And so if they look at the industry as a high risk venture, it's difficult for them to actually step in. And this goes for the banks, goes for the investors, or anybody that, even an individual that's willing to put money behind an artist or a creative person. It becomes very difficult. They consider all these factors. And so when they look at the risk, it becomes very difficult for them to take a step. And so many people are proposing that there should be, a way for the institutions to meet these creatives halfway. I mean, there should be an understanding between the financial institutions and the creatives as well to be able to ensure that even though it's a high-risk venture, they're able to put out some cash and have very, innovative ways to track the process and also to be able to recoup their process without anybody, falling along the way.
How challenging is the engagement with the banks and investors?
It has been challenging. If you look at Ghana, for instance, you realize that even when it comes to ambassadorial deals, which are, very popular in other areas, it's very popular here in Ghana as well. But when it comes to the linkage between the arts and then the financial ambassadorial arrangement is quite difficult. You realize that Manifest is also in a certain situation where he has some financial institutions that he's an ambassador for. So for someone like that, it's very easy for him to leverage on that to be able to secure some sort of funding from these facilities. Sarkodie was usually unveiled as a brand ambassador for another bank, and that's also good news for him because he's also an independent creative who's doing so good for himself. Fortunately for him. So he can also leverage that as well. So the other artists who are not in certain very similar situations are also, encouraging others to be able to use those, these two examples that I've just mentioned, they are encouraging the financial institutions to use these as very good examples to be able to appreciate the worth of the creatives to the community itself and also to these financial institutions. And based off of that, they can piggyback on that and ensure that they also get some benefits if they see the importance of their role in the financial ecosystem as well.
Well, aside from banks and investors, let's talk about global brands. My director whispered into my ears. That's a question from him. How about the creators partnering global brands and, of course, making money from it?
Exactly. So we are already seeing, the partnership going on. I mean, the issue I mentioned with Sarkodie recently, even the conversation that brought this up, basically, it was his partnership with a global brand, a global beverage brand, that brought this conversation up recently. I mean, a lot of them are actually taking that step, and those who have very, recognized or very big labels and machinery behind them are able to take advantage of the global brands, because you'd understand that it takes a certain level of negotiation for some of these things to see the light of day. And there are some artists who are taking advantage of that, and others are unable to, even though they have the clout or they have that following, but the way the negotiation skills, or as I was mentioning, that, up to management skills that is needed, right, which usually would find in artists with big labels behind them. And so that is why financing is very important, because to be able to sit at the table with some of these people, you have to, for instance, be able to spend an arm and a leg for an airfare, for instance, to be able to get there, to be able to have that conversation.
We have just about a minute. I want to ask you about the role the government can play, because just recently, we've seen how interested the government is in the creative industry. What role can they play? What role can the private sector also play in improving access to funding for creators?
So government's role is very clear-cut, providing the enabling environment for artists to thrive, for instance. There's also the need to provide some tax exemptions for artists or creators who are doing things that are pushing the culture forward or pushing the country's heritage forward. That's a very good place to start as well. And for entrepreneurs, individuals amongst others, they can also open their doors and be very open-minded about the prospect that these creatives have to share, and the numbers also, and the impact that they're able to bring to their individual brands, because the world is moving forward, actually.
All right. Thank you so much. Just a quick update on our discussion last week about the monetization of content.
Yeah.
I think this week the Ministry of Information confirmed that in a statement that Meta has actually enabled those features for monetization. So it's confirmed.
Instagram is also expected to roll out later this year, right after Facebook.
Great stuff. Looks like there's so much money in the creative sector now. That's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend.